I've had a 12-ounce skimmer. Grant's just had one about £1 as well, sharp. That's what we want. See, that's my biggest fish at day then. Right, we've got another live match. We're down on Moorlands Farm in the Midlands. Bit of a trek for me, but it's a nice day, flat calm at the minute. Had a bit of overnight frost. We're here today for On the Flyer TV qualifier, so a chance to try and get in the 10 grand final. We've drawn 18 on the meadow pool, which is middle of the lake, normally always good for skimmers. Don't really know the lake, to be honest. I looked at the weigh sheet on Sunday. This peg had £14. There was a 20 over there, which is not in my section, thankfully. I think this zone was one with about £15–16, so it's a peg capable of definitely qualifying. We've got some good angles on the match today, as always. Take my glasses off, they're steaming. Tactics wise, a lot of people fish ground bait and pinkies here. I didn't really want to go down that route. I don't really like fishing that. I like to fish my own way, try and stick to what I know. I'm just going to run you through the rig that I'm going to be using. So, same depth everywhere, which is dead easy. I'm going to set a couple of duplicates up just in case, but it's all going to be exactly the same. So, 5's elastic for my long line, fishing for little skimmers, stuff like that. I want something quite soft. The short line, got a chance for a few perch and an odd better fish, so I'll probably use a 6's there. And then coming down, I've got 0.15, so I've left myself about 2 foot of line there, just so I can flick it past my pole tip and fish on the back of my bait, so that's quite important. Don't have too short of a line. A little number 9 back shot, a 4x12 float, carbon stem, and then coming down, just got a little sort of tapered bulk, if you like, just start slightly spread out, and then one number 10 dropper, another number 10 dropper, probably spaced out about 6 inches apart, and then I've got a 5-inch hook length, and that's finished off to a 20's F1 maggot. 0.10 on that as well, 0.10 supernatural. Bait wise, I've got some Fishery micros, and all I'm going to do, I'm probably only going to feed like literally that many micros in probably one handful of ground bait, so next to nothing micro wise. Just so that there's a very odd particle. It's almost like I'm feeding neat ground bait, but there's an odd micro pellet scattered in amongst it, so that's what I'm going to do on my right hand swim. I chose to fish 14 metres here because Grant next to me is just a little bit further out on his peg. If I go 13 I just feel set back, so automatically I've gone 14.5. I might even get my 16 metre section out, because if I blow them lines up, because I don't know what's going to happen if I'm feeding worms on my left hand line, which I'm going to do. If that goes rubbish and I feel like that ground bait and pellet's better, then I'll probably want to start another line on ground bait and pellet. So I'm starting at 14. I would have liked to start at 13, but the anglers around you dictate what's going to happen, so I'm going to have to fish 14 to start with, potentially even go to 16. And then I've got a short line again, same depth. I'm talking 2 inches different, so I might out on my pole, I can just slide my float down 2 inch. And I'm just going to feed that quite positive with ground bait in the hope that some skimmers will come there. So I might put 400ml ground bait loose there, a few chopped worms in it. Well, I'm sort of like this with worms, because I don't want to kill that short line. I might not put worms in there. If I catch on worms early, I might introduce some halfway through the match. If I don't, then I won't put any in, but I'm not going to put any in to start with, to be fair. And then I'm just going to flick casters there, and I'll just fish on the back of it, and then later on in the day, hopefully, I might catch on top of my ground bait and catch some better stamp fish. So the plan is to catch an odd roach past it, and then some short. So that's pretty much bait and rigs covered. We'll just see how the match starts, and I'll take it negative to start with, a bit more positive on the worm line, and then we'll just see how the day progresses, and we'll work it out from there. Right, just getting ready for the start of the match. I've got 200 ground bait there, 200ml ground bait. I'm going to add about 50ml chopped worms to that. That's going to be one mix. And what I'm going to do with that, just put that there a sec. I'm going to mix this really wet. Don't want any cloud coming off my ground bait. Cloud's great for attracting fish, but I don't want to catch any carp or F1s or draw them into my pegs, so I'm trying to keep it really, really wet. And then on the other line, just going to go even a bit wetter than that. So you can imagine I'm going to feed a little ball like this. It's going to be really wet and stodgy. That's what I want to kick-start that line off with. And then on the other swim, I want to take the same again. So 200mm ground bait. In fact, I'm going to put 400mm ground bait. And literally about probably 25mm micros. So there's next to nothing in that. And again, I want to feed it wet. So I want to feed it wet. So let me get that worm line in first. I've got a little marker on my pole here, which is on a little bit of tape. It's about a yard back from the end. That's where I'm going to feed it. So turn that over, put that in there. And then the short line, I'm going to feed a few casters, not many, 50 casters. So I'm going to loose feed this. So I'm lining up over there, Mr. Kidding's keep net. I'm going to feed that loose. I'm going to loose feed this line as well. Feeding it loose, I think it just gives you a bigger spread of bait. So this one I'm going to put 4-6 inch to the left, and then that line I'm just going to flip casters like that, and I've got the option. I've plumbed up beyond it, and beyond it it's still the same depth, so it's perfect. So on this line now, I'm going to mix my ground bait with my micros. I'm going to start very negative. So I've got my worm slot mix sort of ready. Got my little pellet mix there ready. Got some dead maggots, but I do like to fish lives on the hook if I can. Just feel like if there's any roach in your swim, you can see them, catch them. Whereas if there's no, if you're fishing with a dead maggot, you don't catch the roach, you don't know they're in your swim, so you don't know they're there. You'll find out if they're there if you're fishing alive. So to start with, single live maggot. I can fish a pellet over this as well. Let me just swap my baits around. So I'm going to start a little tiny guru, small guru pot on. I'm going to drop a little blob in on this long right hand line. And just see what happens. I'm not going to loose feed long. I don't want to. I'm just trying to remember my marker because that van's moved. So we're going to use the edge of his. The edge of his, what they call pole roost. That's going to be my marker now. I'll keep flicking a few casters there. I don't know what to expect, to be honest. Obviously I know a lot of the locals, they fish pinkies and ground bait. When I spoke to Mikey Williams, one of the Guru lads, he gave me some good info. Told me like, you know, pinkies is great bait, but I don't really fish like that. I don't want to go down that route. I want to sort of do my own thing if I can, see how it pans out. When you're coming and fishing against lads who know the venue, fish. It's hard to beat them at their own game sometimes. I'd rather do something that I'm confident in. A little skimmer to start with. Nailed it as well. That's a good sign though. I'm not going to feed every chuck. I don't want a big build up of bait. I'll try and catch as many fish as I can without feeding anything really. I'm hoping if it's anything like what I'm used to, let's just hit my pole tip. That's better. If it's anything like what I'm used to, you tend to find you catch 2 or 3 fish off that one little feed, and then you top up and do it like that. Really small one this time. Little roach from a skimmer. Little tiny skimmer. And it's just got a nice fish next to me, probably 10 or 12 ounce. I'll start on this line, but I will have a look early on that worm line, because if there's any bigger fish about, hopefully that's the line I'll catch them on. Now if I catch another little roach here, I'm going to put a little nugget in again. Little perch. I'm not trying to pellet just yet. Get a little, just enough to fill that little girly pot. Feeding it wet as well, like because it's really wet. Hopefully, no cloud coming off it. I'm not going to attract them little fish in, that's the whole idea of it, but it might take a little while just for my peg to get going. Surface skim's a bit horrible, it's got a little bit of tension, your float's just sitting up before it cocks. Give that a little lick when it comes in. I'll leave that skim alive for at least 15 minutes before I drop in. The fish are on the bait quickly here, obviously. Little perch. Keep flicking a few casters short. I don't want to feed too heavy when I fish short. Feed short, because it's shallow. I don't want to be chucking like 30 casters in there. Just 6 to 10 casters. The float just sits funny and then it's gone down again. Forgot to lick it, didn't I? Liam Liner, next peg's got a F1. He's not in my section, I'm the start of the section going to my left, so to qualify today I don't have to win the match, I've just got to beat everybody to my left if you imagine, draw a line from me across the lake, my section is everyone that way. So pretty fortunate really, because the peg to my right, for example, is in with the good pegs on the points, like 58 and 12 and 11. They seem to be the farm pegs. Oof. Missed a little bite then. There's a lot of F1s and carp moving at the start of the match. Smack in front of me as well. I was a little bit worried, to be honest. Liam hooking one so early, like, not a great sign. I don't know what they'll be like on here, but when them F1s take over an area, you tend to have to start a new line to try and get the fish to come back, because once they're in that area, the skimmers do tend to scatter. That's why I try to feed next to nothing, and I don't want to feed regular. You know, if I'm feeding every single chuck with a little bit of ground bait, I'm encouraging F1s to come in the peg. I don't want them today because they don't count. A couple of quick bites, and then missed 2 bites this chuck. There's still an odd fish there. What I might do next chuck is just drop a little blob on that, and then just drop in on that worm line and see if it goes under. Fed a little bit more bait on that worm line in the hope that when I go on it I can get a decent run off it. I think this is a little skimmer. Yep. I think this is what we're mainly fishing for, is these little 3-4 ounce skimmers with an odd brown and chucked in. So, single live maggot. Let me just give that float a lick. Just sort of degreases the float. So I'm going to drop another little nugget on that right hand swim, and just drop in on this worm line. Drop them in there. What I don't want to be doing is going in and catching the perch on this. That's normally a bad sign. If I go in and catch skimmers, obviously you know they like it. When you don't catch skimmers and you just get perched out, that's generally when you feel like worms is not right. Lost it. That was a perch. Not a great sign. I don't even know what weight we're fishing for today, to be honest. Could be £12, could be £25, like literally. Don't know how that frost's going to respond, how they're going to respond to that frost. I think £14 come off this peg Saturday, and average seemed to be about 10 along this bank. It was quite fair, to be fair, 10 to £15, but there was a 23 on the point over there somewhere, about 58ish, on the Saturday match at least. And then I'm trying to think what won the lake on Sunday. I think there's a couple of 20s actually on Sunday off here on the Winter League.
So we could need 20 odd pound, but we might only need 12 pound. I think stamp of fish will dictate that. I didn't want to go down the loose feeding route today because I always feel loose feeding attracts carp and F1s. But I know a lot of the lads do loose feed pinkies on here and fish for numbers and take an odd bonus with it. That's my only worry, is if I ain't got any bait to loose feed other than casters. I don't think casters will be right for loose feeding anyway. You know, not on this long line where you're fishing for the smaller stamp. See, this is not looking great now because I'm not getting bites on it. Oh, something sort of there in its mouth, that we're lucky. A better one maybe. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Wasn't expecting that. Didn't even see the bite to be fair. Better to be lucky than good though. Right, let's just see if I get a bite on this line. I've got enough bait on that worm line where I don't have to keep going back to it, so I'm not going to go back to it straight away, because what I don't want to do is lose track of this line. I want to make sure I'm keeping the feed in little and often and just dripping bait through. This might be the line where I need to catch numbers of fish. Little skim bob. Tell you what I'm going to do while I'm getting an odd bite on that. I'm just going to slip a pellet on. Slip a little expander on and just see if I can get a bite on it. This might be a way to catch some better stamp fish. Don't think that many people fish pellets here. When the temperature rises, certain times of the year, it's all the skimmers want to eat sometimes. The problem is obviously you catch a lot of carp doing it, and we don't want them. Fish then. Well, I say little, probably better than I was, but that was a bite on a pellet. Just gonna go back in on a maggot. It's a little bit quicker, but I know I can get a bite on a pellet now. That's interesting. I waited a bit longer, but maybe that would have caught a few more of the slightly better stampers. So that's something I'll pay attention to. I feel there's an odd better fish there. Just keep slipping a formal expander on. Like I say, I've not fed loads of pellets, literally just a little pinch. Fishery micros in with that Blake Skimmer's dark ground bait. I'll just keep dropping little blobs in. That left hand swim. You know, that might be where we catch some better fish over the worm as well. There's not as many bites on that side. And then all the time, keep a bit of bait trickling through there. Someone just topped in my peg then, and I'm pretty convinced it wasn't a carp. That could have been a decent skimmer. Or a roach maybe. So I feel like I need to feed this swim again now. See if I can get a bite off it, and then what I might do is just drop a little nugget in on it again. Just go and have another look on that worm line. At the moment I don't really know what's best to do. Whether I should just be clattering them on one line or trying to bounce them off two lines. A little bit of a lift motion on my float. I'm not going to strike, it didn't feel like. Felt more like a fish brushing in and giving me a little liner than a lift bite. Not too bad of a stump fish. I'm not going to feed that worm line until I cannot get a bite on it, and then I'll think about topping up it. At the minute I'm just going to keep doing this, plop a little ball in, have a few minutes on worm, and then drop back on this line. That line seems to be a little bit quicker at the minute. I think what we'll do, we'll get his head down for the next sort of half hour, and then we'll have a little catch up later on and see how the peg's progressed and developed. See how we change our match to suit. Alright, so look, catch up. About an hour into the match now. That left hand line where I fed worms, I've hooked a carp on that. It's not been as good since, but do seem to be getting an odd better fish on that line. So, not massive, just 8 ounce, whereas this side there's been some 2, 3, 4 ounce skimmers. At the minute I'm getting more bites where I've fed that little bit of pellet and ground bait. The best thing to do seems to be put a little nugget in, fish it out, catch like 2 or 3 fish, another little nugget. You can imagine I've fed about 5 nuggets, 6 nuggets there, not fed hardly any ground bait. Hopefully it'll be getting it. And the idea is that I never really build up any bait on the bottom. This caster line, I'm not looking to have a go on that for the first half of the match at least. But where I had a few little roach and stuff at the start, it seems to be mainly all skimmers now, which is what I want because I'm fishing in that manner. I'm not loose feeding. I don't want to be attracting roach if I can help it. just don't know what to do with that left-hand worm line at the moment, whether to top it up or just let, you know, because I've had that carp, I'm scared of topping it up and killing it. So what I'm trying to do is just see if anything will regather over it. I can just pick an odd fish off, you know, even if it's dropped there, and just use it as a resting line for this. The first hour I'd basically feed this, have a quick 3 or 4 minutes on that left hand swim, let them settle on this pellet and ground bait, drop back in, catch 2 or 3 fish, top it up, back on my worm line. The last 2 times I've done it, I've not really had a bite on that worm line. So if I need to start a new swim later on, I think pellet and ground bait is the safer option. But you don't know, I might top that worm line up and it starts to come good again. So I've just dropped a little blobbing on this time. Last 2 times I've done it, it's gone a little bit quicker. My stamper's definitely started to go a little bit smaller. There's a little roach. Not had one of them for a while. So it's a good opportunity now just to have another look back on that worm line. Because obviously if I'm catching a roach, I don't feel like there's many skimmers come back to that just yet, so I'll just give it a couple of minutes and just have another little look on this. It's probably 10 or 12 minutes since I've had a look on this, so hopefully that carp's disappeared and some skimmers have regathered on it. I put enough bait there to last an hour, and the carp I did hook, I hooked it, well, it must have been well off the bottom, because when I struck I probably connected with it half depth. It was in the mouth though, I landed it. What I'm hoping is, because the amount of anglers on the bank, the carp might just push into the middle. See why the fish freezing falls elastic now as well, like the skimmers, because it's shallow, they come right to the surface. Even this 5s is probably a little bit too heavy, but see they're ever so slightly bigger on that worm line, probably 6 or 7 ounce. Let's have another go on that. You know, when I spoke to Mikey, he said he fishes freeze a lot, but obviously I'm not going to use a freeze elastic the rest of the winter, so I'm not putting it in for one match. I'll just make do with what I've got. But they are coming up and flapping on surface, which I don't think ruins your peg. I just think, you know, you got more chance of losing them. That was a little roach. Let's just come back onto our feed, see if there's anything there. Obviously I've fed it on this tape here. Been fishing just at the back edge of it. Let's just have a little look on the bait. Sometimes you can fish too far beyond your bait and catch smaller fish or wait longer for bites. So I always like to just be on the back edge of it if I can. It's hard to say how we're doing because, there we go. It's hard to say how we're doing because everyone's getting bites, so you look round and someone's always netting a fish. Obviously because it's a new venue as well. Another one about 7-8 ounce. I think they're the fish we need to sort out to do well. pellet line, they have been a little bit smaller. I did have a bite on a pellet before, which felt like a slightly better fish. But obviously, because it's a new venue for myself, I always find with these commercials you catch well at the start and then the F1s and carp ruin it. You know, when I spoke to Mikey and Dean Barlow, they give me some information and heads up of what could happen, and you know, that's what Dean sort of said to me, was sometimes it can come in and ruin that long line. So I don't want to risk trying bits of worm on this line or putting an expander on the other line while I'm getting bites. You know, don't try and sort of better stamp a fish out. Just catch what you can, and then hopefully as the day progresses I can just put a little bit of worm on, or I can put an expander on and maybe try and go for a few more quality fish. But at the minute while I'm getting bites, I'm just going to keep single red maggot, live maggot as well. I've got some deads, but roach aren't really a problem. I don't mind getting an odd one, do you know what I mean? I don't want to sit there and miss out on other fish. So I'll just fish a single live maggot and just try and get my head down and get bites. So I feel like we're doing okay, you know. I'm not saying we're winning, because it's hard to tell. I don't even know if we're catching down that end, because I've not really been looking, but the lads I can see around me, we're at least keeping pace. Just had that slightly bigger one on the bait, missed a bite. I'm just going to see if we can get one more on it. Next chuck, maybe go at the back edge of it again. Because I'm not topping this line up regular, I don't want to take too many fish off it. I want to try and keep an odd fish feed in there. I don't want to just go in and get 5 or 6 on the trot, because then it'll take them longer to come back. If I can always try and keep an odd fish feeding in the peg, because when I top this line up, sometimes with worms you top it up and it's kiss of death. So I don't want to top it up and kill the peg, and when I could just be a little bit more patient and just pick them off and use it as a resting line. A little bit of a funny indication, so I'm just going to flick it past. Just go to the back edge of that section. I'd imagine now I'm like 6 or 8 inch behind the back of that little ball that I've fed. Obviously there won't be much bait on the bottom here now, so if anything is lingering just off the back of it, or something comes into my peg, the fear is that they pick it up a bit quicker. Your bites tend to be a little bit cleaner as well off the back edge of your feed. Fish venues like this in the past, like, it reminds me a little bit of Woodlands Thirsk, like 4 foot deep, not lots of water for the fish to sit off the bottom in. So generally what they do is they back off and they come back, they back off and they come back. That's why I feel like loose feeding could be good, but again I didn't want to risk foul looking anything or getting carp in my peg and just sending the fish a little bit weird. So I'm just going down the potting route of just feeding little bits and keep trying to drag them in that way. I've had 2 bites on this now, missed them both. I'm hoping they're not liners from a bigger fish like a F1 or a carp. No, little fish. Right, 2 hours into the match. It started to go a little bit slow. Well, it's definitely gone slow for most people. I can still get bites on this pellet and ground bait line. Odd bites, just feeding tiny bits. But my worm line's blown up now a little bit. Well, I wouldn't say blown up, I didn't catch on it when I went back on it. I tried feeding it with a little nugget. Probably an hour and a half in. Didn't really work. Got 2 little roach off it. So I decided to put another, so I kickstart my peg again with another little golf ball full of worms. Just really looking for an odd better stamp fish there if I can. If that doesn't work, then I need to make a decision really, because I could do with another line to rest this. I can't catch nothing past my feet, just an odd little roach. Everything seems to be smack on the bait, especially where I'm fishing now. I've had a little go on pellet. You can get a bite, but it takes forever to get a bite, whereas maggot seems a lot more consistent. A lot quicker bites on maggot. And like I said, you know what's in your peg. You know, when I fish maggot, if I catch a roach, it's generally telling you there's no skimmers there. So it tells me when to top up. I'm keeping this line really negative. I don't want to blow my peg up. A few lads have already started hooking a few carp. I can hear people saying that the pegs are fizzing. So I don't want to go down the route of feeding any volume of bait. I've had an odd little blow in my peg here now. Don't know whether the carp or skimmers, to be honest. I've not hooked a carp on this line, touch wood. Grant's got a better fish on there now. What's that? F1 or a little carp. You know, me and Grant would probably fish for fish the first hour. Feels like he's got some carp or F1s in his peg now. Mikey Williams up on the end peg on this bank. He's got a bit of room, Mikey. I think he's pegged 28. So he's about a few out of the corner. It's a lot shallower up that end. But I believe he's had a lucky foul up skinner, £2, and a few better skimmers. I need 5 or 6 pounds, so I've probably got 15 or 16 skimmers. But if they're averaging 4 or 5 ounce, maybe. Some are smaller, some are bigger. Let's say they average 5 ounce. That's 75. Let's tuck it straight away then. 75, quick maths, probably. I get this one maybe £5. They're not a million miles away, but doesn't feel like there's lots of bigger skimmers about. I'm not seeing anybody hook any bigger skimmers in this area. These are the ones we want though, they're probably 7 ounce. You know, not knowing the venue, maybe what'll happen is them smaller ones will catch early, they'll fizzle out, and we won't get as many, but we might get slightly better stamp. Don't feel like I'm going to catch £20 fishing like this at the minute, but I know there's some £1, £2 fishing here with an odd big perch and stuff like that, so if that caster line comes good, that could be the one that makes or breaks the session. So I'll just top this back up now, just see whether I get a quick little run again. It's like you need bait going through all the time. That's one reason why I don't think that worm line's working as much, because I'm probably not feeding it as regular. So if that ball doesn't work, that's probably my next option, is just to keep plopping a little nugget on this, catch 2 or 3 fish while I drop a nugget on that line, catch a couple off that, and maybe a little bit more regular feeding might, trigger a few to come back to it. But I know what worms is like. A few people said it, you know, it's not great. It seemed to catch me an odd better stampfish earlier, but bites have slowed up on it now, so it might get worse and worse, that line. That's why I'm sort of treating it as feed a bit of bait, leave it, and see if anything bigger settles over it, rather than fishing for these bread and butter stampfish, which I can catch on this line. See, knowing what I know now, I wish I'd have put my worm line not as far left, because I can't really get away from that line now. I could maybe feed 1 metre to the right, or I could maybe take a section off. I don't know whether that would work or not. I'll come back to 13 and just thread a fresh little pile. I might be able to bounce some. I just need something over that side of my peg where I can get a few bites. Early doors I was feeding this, catch 2 or 3 fish. It was like every time I went there I could get a bite, whereas now I've just had that quick skimmer, a couple of indications, but it's definitely like slowing up. So, you know, maybe loose feeding could be an option here. But again, I didn't want to go down that route and draw carp in my peg, and whenever I fish venues where there's a lot of F1s and carp, just potting your bait seems to be better. Loose feed definitely drags them in. There's a little bite. Keep feeding them casters.
Dad said that's £8. He's just had one about £3. Has he really? Yeah. He's lying again, isn't he? Lying. His mouth's moving, he's always lying and he's lying. I'm no good at guessing, mate. Oh, I'm no good at guessing, mate. Easy when you're catching them like that, Bob. The only one I got.
Another fish. I think the thing that might separate today is stamp. I definitely do with trying to find a few bonus fish. Hopefully that's where that caster line comes good for me. The biggest problem I've got today is I don't really know what weight I'm fishing for. I don't know if I'm on track or not. Sort of just feeling your peg out and hoping it's enough. You know, if I knew I was fishing for, say, £15, like I say, £14 come off this peg on Saturday, which did alright in this little area. I can't remember exactly what won the section, maybe 16 or £17. So if we're fishing for that sort of weight, I feel like I could tick along doing this and not be a million miles off. But if it's starting to get harder and you need £20, I feel like £20 at the moment is not capable of doing this. But we'll just keep plodding along. See, this feels like it needs feeding to me now. I've probably fed about 7-8 minutes ago, caught 2 skimmers off it. It doesn't feel quick enough. Maybe I need to feed a little bit less but a little bit more often. So rather than filling that small girder up, maybe feed half of it, tiny bit of ground bait. You know, next to nothing. You don't need to feed a lot when you fish for these little palm-sized skimmers. I think the more you feed, the worse it gets, to be honest. You just want a response off them. Sometimes, like I say, I'll take half a small girder of ground bait, just that wet mix that I've got, just sort of smudging it into the pot. Not like balling it up or anything like that, just literally taking a pinch, smidging it into the pot and just tapping it out so you get a little bit of cloud off it, but the majority of it will go straight to the bottom. So right, I'll just no more bites again right now. So I've left that worm line for quite a while now as well, so I'll see if I can work anything out on this. So I'm literally just smudging a little bit of ground out in that pot, just so it holds and it doesn't drop out. I reckon it'll be about half a pot's worth that. Just turn that pot over, keep it low to the water, and then just tap it in. You want to keep it low to the water so that it doesn't cloud too much when it hits the surface. If you drop it from a height, it'll hit the water on a little bit harder impact, and then you've got more chance of it clouding. If we can't get a bite later on, we'll try and do that, but we don't really want to cloud the peg up. Get a few funny bites and stuff, you just want that blob to go straight down. So see if these fish now respond to this. You can tell when they're there because the response time is so much quicker, whereas now it's just slowing up, whereas your bite time would be like a minute or two previous. Now you're having to sit and wait and I just feel like I can't really attack my peg, but go and put a decent ball in to try and get some fish to settle. It would probably make it worse and become harder to catch them. So you sort of just got to fish through the motions, and when they visit the area you get a little run of them and then they go again, and they come back and then you go again. I almost wish I'd have brought some live maggots now, because not to loose feed every chuck because you might draw a roach in, but if I just ping like 4 or 5 maggots you might just be able to get a response off some of them. I think Grant's got another carp or something on there now. If they start coming in on pole line, obviously they're going to want to settle the skimmers as well. This was my worry. If they start to, there we go, cried that one in. This was my worry though, is if it starts to slow, there's no real way to kickstart. When you're fishing like this, there's no real way to kickstart your peg again. So I'm not going to feed, just go out there, just see if I can catch one more off it, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer for him to come back to it, and then all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 quickens, whereas before they were coming back quickly. Now it might take 4 or 5 minutes before they come back, and then you get 2 quickens and then you feed again. So that's where we're up to. That's what I'm going to keep fishing like this for a bit. Every now and again I'm going to keep dropping on that worm line, and be honest, I'm not confident I'm going to catch on that, but you never know. We'll just leave it, let it settle. I've put enough bait in there to last another 40 minutes, an hour, so I don't probably need to top that up. Don't feel like I'm going to drop in and they've ate everything. There should be at least enough bait there for another 40 minutes, an hour, but at the moment I'm just trying to keep an odd fish going in the net. Hopefully get me towards the end of the match, and then fingers crossed some bigger fish turn up later on. I know they do catch a few fish short later in the day, so it's not totally finished, you know. We might get another revisit somewhere in the peg later in the day. So keep doing what we're doing for now. Like I say, I don't know exactly where we're up to. I would imagine Mikey's probably caught another couple of pounds, so if he's on like 7-8 pound, I'd probably say he's the one we're chasing at the minute. but 3 or 4 decent big skimmers, it can all change. So keep at it, and hopefully the peg starts to improve, or we can start a new line maybe. That worm line's no good. Might start a new line, we might start catching again. So we'll have another catch up in about an hour's time, see where we're up to. Right, we've come up to the 3 hour mark. Can get a very odd bite on this pellet and ground bait line. It's really slow though, so what I've just done, made the decision, I don't want to go further because I don't feel like there's any stamp fish out there. And I know they've got a chance of catching some better skimmers late, so I've actually come in to 11 metres and just put a little golf ball there. That worm line is just not happening, so I've sacked that off. I can always drop back in on that, put enough bait there where I can just drop back in, and you know, if I don't touch that line for an hour, you might drop back in and catch a pounder or something out of the blue. So I can always, because my peg's like a snooker table, plumbs up same depth every line, I can always drop back in there, but I'm not going to keep feeding it. So I've just fed a couple of sections off now, took my graphic sections off and just fed on 11 metres slightly to my left, just because I see Grant's had a good little run there. He's not fishing 11 metres, but because he's sort of set forward from me, it's probably about the same line he's fishing. He's just had a good little run for that last half an hour on that shorter line. I've still got my caster line short here. I've seen a few of the lads on the other side have a few roach off it, so what I might do in a minute is just top this up with another little tiny nugget, give that line out there sort of 15 minutes and just see if I can get a bite short. Because I feel like if I'm going to do any good, I need to catch short, but because I've not caught any like pound fish, my biggest fish is probably 8 ounce. I don't know if they'll be in the area. I mean, I don't know the venue, could just be totally different stamp short. There might be some nice roach and perch and odd better skimmer there. But this line now is really drying up, so I'm sort of like gonna have to change my match a little bit. So hopefully that fresh bait on that 11 metre line might just catch me a few more. This feels a slightly better fish. See, that's my biggest fish at day, that. That's what we want. Slight brownness to them. I'm not going to come off that just now yet. Now I was going to have a look short then, but I can't do after catching that. There's still plenty of time. Still 2 hours left, so the match can easily change. I feel like I've got to find a few of them stamp fish. Well, that's a good sign now, because I've not had one of them all day. One of them brownings like a pound. So now I'm a bit more optimistic that I might catch a few there. Another indication straight away. That fish that I just caught out there then, that's what I was hoping it may catch on worms. I've not fed loads of worms, but just the potency of worms sometimes has dragged better fishing. The way I'm fishing here with just an odd micro and an odd bit of ground bait, you're basically feeding neat ground bait almost. There's so little micros in it. But if you think you put a little pinch of micros in, there might be 150 micros in that pinch. It's 150 individual particles the fish can pick up, so it's a great holding bait. Grant's just added another slightly better stamp fish there. So maybe there is a few better bonus fish knocking about. I might just not feed till later on. I'm just not feeding this just yet. I'm just going to see if I can just see what my next fish is. I just felt if I went longer, it's hard work, 16 metres, shipping little skimmers. That's why I would have liked to have fished 13 and then gone to 14. I wish I'd have done that now really, because I felt like I was set back this morning. But I feel like the fish would have just been in my peg and that was it. I don't feel like going further would have mattered. I feel like I could have got a run at 13 and then gone to 14, so slight error there, just because now if I want to make another move I've got to go 16 and then it becomes awkward. I mean, you could do with a wind, but I just feel like to win I need to be coming back to myself. A lot of these venues you generally always catch that better stamper fish short. It's just naturally that when the carp start to come in, the sort of skimmer bream sort of follow them. So I had a couple of signs when I first went in and then it's just sat there again. I thought I was going to go again quite quick. Let's try just flicking it past ever so slightly. It's not been very good today fishing beyond my bait. I seem to catch an odd roach, an odd perch, like all the skimmers seem to be smack on the bait. Getting a bit of fizz in there now. Might just double check in a minute and re-plumb up and just make sure that, you know, I've not hooked a carp on this line, but just make sure they haven't dug the bottom out. And blows and fizzes, they look carpy to me, but you know, we haven't hooked one, so there's nothing to say that they are carp. They could be skimmers. I think this needs another little feed, to be honest. I'm just going to have a quick look on that worm line. I'm not going to spend long here, just see if it goes. If there's one there, you never know, it might go quickly. So I'm not going to refeed this line now. Just going to leave it as a small fish. Just drop another little nugget on this line. I mean, if I could start my match again, I would probably fish 2 pellet and ground bait lines. I probably won't put them worms in. I might have been able to pick these fish off a little bit better. Both lines might have been consistent. Seen it before in here though, where you get this lull middle at match, goes a little bit quiet, and then hopefully the peg kicks back in again late on when they decide to come short and have a feed. But you want that light to start dropping really. We're fishing till 3:30 today, so half an hour later than what I was expecting, so that's good. There's every chance that there might be some better fish feed that last half hour. A lot of people starting to come short now. The local lads as well, so they probably know the last 2 hours is when it starts to come good. Just gonna double check that peg out long. There's quite a lot of blowing going on there, so there's either an F1 or a carp there. Oh, we've dubbed the bottom out and fishing off it. Let's have a look. Maybe a tiny little bit. I'll probably have another half an inch on that. But not a great deal more. Let's put another half inch on that. Have a look on this 11 metre line, see if we can get a bite here. Like I say, I've only fed this probably 20 minutes ago or so. You'd think you'd have to chase the fish out, but sometimes, like I say, it's the opposite. They actually come in. As the carp come in from the middle of the lake, they can push the silvers a little bit closer, and your long lines go slow because they can't move in, and your short lines, they get left alone a bit more, and the skimmers can get a little looking. As soon as them carp or F1s come in your peg, I feel like they just scatter out skimmers. There's a little indication there. So that's a good sign, because first drop in caught a little skimmer on it. Didn't know whether that would work or not, but hopefully that's the right decision, going shorter rather than longer. So what we'll do, we'll probably fish this and that long line. That long line goes rubbish, I'm going to probably have a look short. An hour and a half to go. I don't want to go on it too early, because I feel if I go on it too early, I could end up catching a few and then they disappear and I'm left with nothing late on. So I'd rather any feeding fish are there, build the confidence up and try and clatter them when they want to feed later in the day. I think the longer you can leave it, hopefully the better it will be. You might not catch there, I'm only fishing close, but people have told me they can catch on a top 4 here, so top 5 I should hopefully get bites there. There's a few better fish coming out to me right, pound fish, but I just feel that's more like the area and the peg. See, this stamp's probably 3 to pound, I'd say they're 5 ounce-ish. Keep fishing this for a bit, and then when we come on that short line, we'll have another little catch up, and hopefully we can catch some better fish there. minute ago. I've had one quick look on this short line there, and I've had a 12-ounce skimmer, so that's a good sign. Definitely a slightly better stamp. Grant's just had one about a pound as well short, so hopefully we can catch some better stamp fish there later. But at the minute I'm just on this 11 metre line. I've had to start a new line off to my right. Reason being, when I fed that first little nugget, I remember I put a golf ball on that 11 metre line. The carp come in, I've hooked 2 carp straight away on it. I've gone this side and just fed a little tiny small guru pot, so a thumbnail of ground bait, and there's some fish there, getting little indications. Really tricky to catch, like little skimmers. It's not very deep, but you're getting plenty of signs and indications to say there's fish there, just not picking your bait up. I've just tried a pellet and I waited twice as long really as I would on a maggot, but eventually it went and the stamp were the same, so I sacked the pellet off, gone back to the maggot. Again, just feeding micros in that ground bait. That seems to have been alright today. Brings the fish in, it holds them in your peg. Maybe, judging by these indications, you know, having some pinkies for the hook would have been a good option, because I know a lot of these lads are fishing pinkies. I can see why now, because the stamp's a little bit smaller than what I thought it was. So any of them little tiniest skimmers, like the 2-3 ounces, they'd probably just pick a pinky up quicker than they would a maggot. But overall, I don't know where we're at. Grant's had a couple of good runs and a couple of quiet spells. Don't think Mike is catching loads at the bottom end, but his stamper fish seems to be good. You know, he's had a few bonus fish, so he might not need as many fish. He might only need 20 fish for £15. See, again, little indication there. Really tricky. They're sat there. There's definitely some fish sat there. Got my float dotted to a pimple, and I've took a little bit of line off the bottom as well, so I've only got about 1 inch of line on the bottom, just so I can see everything that shows up as quick as possible. I feel like I probably need to feed this again now, because even though there's signs of fish in my peg, my bite time's getting longer again. I need to sort of make something happen. Just not getting bites quick enough, but I know there's fish there, they're just not picking it up. Like I said, I've only got casters for loose feeding. I feel like they're probably a bit too positive for the stamper fish I'm catching, but maybe if you flicked an odd maggot over that now, you'd start getting a few more bites. Just need to I feel like I need to spur them into having a go, because it's so flat and still. I feel like they're sat in my peg, but they're just tricky. Weight wise, I don't know what I've got. Not too sure, to be honest. We've had one a pound, that 12 ounce on the short line, and then everything else has been sort of 2 to 8 ounce. Plenty of bites though. It's been good. Enjoyed it. Not been carp to death like I thought we would. There's a lot of carp moving here this morning and F1s, but hopefully they've backed off a little bit. And I've just seen a big ghosty swim past my feet 10 minutes ago. See, like there now, I've had a few indications, but it's just not developed into a bite. Another little lift, brushing into the line. I'm just going to drop another little nugget in. See if I can get him to just follow it down. See Mikey catch another half decent fish. I think that caster line is what's going to separate whether we do well or not. If we can drop in there and get 4 or 5 decent skimmers, that'd be mega. I mean, I don't know if that'll be enough, but I just feel like we probably need to catch at least we're not going to catch 4 or 5 pound doing this, but we could potentially catch 4 or 5 pound of this size of the fish we did catch. You know, the one fish we've had short, it'd probably be like half a dozen of them would probably be 5 pound. That'd real boost your weight up. Like I said, I don't know what weight we're fishing for. I'm not seeing anyone bagging. I don't think anyone's got 20 pound. It's just hard to know when you don't come to a venue like this. It's hard to know, but it's still a great, you know, a lot of information. When I come back here next time, I'll have a much better idea of what to do and what to expect. I feel like it was a bit windier and it's towing. I feel like they'd be a little bit easier to catch, but because it's so flat and still, I feel like they're quite tricky to catch. I feel like there's fish in your peg. I feel like I've had odd fish in my peg all day. You've always been able to get a bite if you go somewhere different. See there, another little indication. Earlier doors, it was just going in and just going under, whereas now I feel like you thinned them out. You thinned them out a little bit, and there's only a couple of them there, and they're just really cagey, which is typical of small skimmers, to be honest. When they want to feed, they're easy to catch, but when they don't want to feed, they're one of the trickiest fish to catch. Let's just flick it past and have a go just a foot past the back of that feed. See if that's any cleaner. I tried this multiple times today and it's not really worked for me, but sometimes they change the feeding habits and they get tricky to catch, and all of a sudden you try it and it starts to work. Just depends how the fish are feeding. Another bite, but not a fish. Just heard one at lads. I think it was Mushy saying you've got 15 pounds, so somebody in the other section's got 15 pound. Don't know if this section will be as good as that. A lot of the lads are starting to come short now. I'd say over half the section's fishing short, so might be time for a look on that short line. I'm just gonna give this one more chuck, see if I can get one here. If not, I'm gonna have a look on that short line. Could do with that light just dropping a little bit more. Probably like 50 minutes to go now, so this is definitely petering out. Just don't know what to do when I come off this, whether to feed it with a little nugget, try and get a run off it, or whether to stay cautious, because if I don't get a bite, what I don't want to do is go back out there and I can't catch a fish because I've overfed it. So need to get some bites short, really. Another little indication, I can just see, because it's so flat, you can just see fish will be brushing against your line. Come on. Play it cautious. Put a little nugget in. Put a little nugget in and then I'll have a look on this short line and see what happens here. So I only had the one bite off this before. Let's put a maggot on. Amazing how this line can turn, you know, they turn up on this line out of nowhere. Just gonna let it drift to the back at feeds. I'm just leaning forward ever so slightly just so I'm off the back of my feeds to start with. Well, the lads up there further up's just netted a decent fish. Little indication there. Go on. Right, I'm just going to slip a caster on. Just see if that's any better than maggot. Well, two signs there, but I don't feel like they've been skimmers. I feel like they could potentially carpy looking liners. I remember fishing a match at the weekend and he had you would have thought you'd have caught that roach on a maggot, wouldn't you? Went straight away on a caster then. That 11 metre line's not really... I just can't see how they're going to rock up there. I feel like now it's going to be a late on job here if I'm going to do any good. Definitely. Need a big perch or a bream or something. There's a bite. At least we've got a couple of signs. Grant to my left's had a good last hour. Picking odd fish off. The lads opposite seem to have slowed up a little bit. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to persevere with this for a little bit. I might have another look back out short, out long, 11 metres. I don't feel like... The problem is here, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or not. Should I be getting more bites than this? Or is it a case of, you know, I might literally get 4 or 5 bites and the quality fish? That's the problem when you've never been to a venue, you don't really know what's going to happen, and I feel like this is the only way I'm going to catch another 4 or 5 pound. But likewise, should I be out there trying to catch another 5 or 6 little skimmers? Another little indication then. Let's go back to try and pick a little bit lighter caster. I know there's some decent perch in here, so you've got every chance that, you know, I could get a perch here. We've got like 40 minutes. When I fished a match at the weekend, I tried this with like 50 minutes to go, never had a bite. Last 15 minutes they turned up out of nowhere, so I'm going to give this another 5 minutes. If I don't get a bite, I'll keep flicking an odd caster there, and I might just have the last 20 minutes there. Just nip out and see if that 11 metre line's any better. As the light starts going, it might start going under. Fish might let the guard down a little bit. Because if I fed this all day like this, I would have expected to drop in and get bites pretty quick. The lads who are catching definitely still seem to be out long, so maybe this is a real late on job. When I had one before on it, like 12 ounce, I thought, oh, here we go, all of a sudden, like, there's some fish short, and then that was it, no more bites. It feels the same again, just had that one roach. But there's just nowhere near enough bites. A little sign then, I think. A little tiny indication maybe. Right, I'm going to have another look out long, and then I think the last 20 minutes I'll come back short and see if we get anything on that. So this peg now's totally gone, this 11 metre line. I'm just going to attack it by feeding every chuck now. I feel like I've got to feed to get a response. Got 2 little skimmers on it since I've gone back out on it. There we go, what's that? Not a bad one, 8 ounce. Just outside the mouth though. Early doors when there's a few feeding fish, obviously. Early doors, obviously, when there's a few feeding fish. You could feed the little ball and catch 2 or 3 small fish off it. Now it's getting harder. I feel like you just got to keep dragging them fish in your peg, so I don't normally like to feed every single chuck, but I've got nothing to lose because I'm probably going to have the last 15-20 minutes there anyway, so we might as well go for it. If we blow it up, you know, it's only costing me sort of 10 minutes of my match, if you like, but if it starts to work, could get a little finish of a little flurry of skimmers near the end now. Sitting and waiting and trying to catch 2 or 3 off each feed's not working. Let's see what happens this time. Another little indication then. It's like they're coming to that little bit of a cloud. Magnet. Can definitely see why Pinkies is good here. It's got that like black colour to the water. It's quite clear. I just think the fish would see it easier and probably pick it up a little bit better. Could have been an error on my part, not going to the tackle shop and getting some. Another half decent one. 6-7 ounce. So that's actually works now. I'm going to do the same again. Tiniest little smidgen of ground bait. Not even a thumbnail. Little fingernail. That's all I'm putting in. I'm tapping it just off the water, just so it clouds a little bit. Just doing anything I can now just to attract any fish in the peg. Seen a few lads come short and have a look. No one's really caught numbers of fish. I know on here they tend to fish like 6 metres and then they have a shorter line than that as well. I see a few people keep trying that, so it's obviously a late off, last in the day thing. So even though we only had that one bite short, we've still got a chance that we could catch a fish or two there. But to be honest, if this kept going under, I probably wouldn't gamble and I'd probably stay on this. Because if the 6-8 ounce fish, you know, another 5 or 6, it's another couple of pound in the net. 20 minutes of the match left now, so this next 5-10 minutes I need to make a decision whether I'm going to come and have a look short or not. So we'll see how these next couple of chucks here pan out as to whether we're actually going to drop on it and gamble or stay where we are and just try and feed that net with whatever we can. When you think about what I'm feeding here now, it's literally nothing. Even in 4 foot of water, I reckon most of that ground bait will probably disintegrate by the time it's got to the bottom. Like a tiny little puff of ground bait, odd micro in it, just enough to get your bait down, get a bite. But probably should have done this with an hour to go, really, looking back. I mean, it's all hindsight, might be time of day now as well, but definitely got me a few more indications. Like early doors you could feed that little blobs, catch 2 or 3. Now putting that cloud through is drawing fish back in. You're always wary that you might drag some carp in, like when I fed that ball to the left, probably 3 metres to the left of where I'm fishing, straight away 2 carp. You're thinking, oh, I'll just winkle and nod and out, I'll try not to feed as much. Since I've started, you know, not attacking it in terms of lots of bait, but feeding regular, trying to make something happen, all of a sudden things start to happen. That's one thing to bear in mind, is like, I was going nowhere, it's like, right, I've got nothing to lose now. But again, like, I could see mid-float, just a little tiny indication line as there's definitely a fish in my peg. Just lift and drop that bait. Just see if that'll encourage one to grab it. Thing is now, if I come on this short line and I don't get a bite, you could sacrifice catching 2 more skimmers out there for £1. So I'm probably gonna, I've literally got 13 minutes to go. I might set myself 5 minutes short if I don't get one, then back out long and try and get lucky and get another 2 to finish, or one even to finish. I feel like I have to have a look on that short line at least and give myself a chance. Get 2 more on this, that'd be brilliant. But I'll take 1 more 8 ouncer if we can. Might notice as well I've got my pole pot purposely like 6 inch, so it's a match kit this. 3.8mm match kit I think it is. The silverfish top kits, and obviously when you put your pole pot on, the holes they naturally end up about 6 inch back on your pole tip, which is perfect because I could put a bit of tape on there and have it right on the end of the pole, but I don't actually want that. I want to feed just short of my float, so I'm fishing on the back edge of that feed. So we're literally into dying minutes now, probably 7-8 minutes to go I'd say. We'll literally take anything. Be interesting to see the weigh-in because I ain't got a clue how we've done or who's won or what. I don't have a clue whatsoever. You know, some people could be catching 3 ounce, 4 ounce fish. You're getting an odd 8 ouncer. Someone could be getting a few pounders. You just don't know. It's interesting fishing. Because you just I felt like I've had odd fish in my peg all day. I just feel like it's the type of venue that probably needs a bit of a wind on it for the better fish to feed, because it's only shallow and pretty clear. And them little skimmers are a nightmare. When it's flat calm like this, I feel like with a bit of ripple and a bit of undertow, some better fish should feed. But you got to remember as well, we've had a frost this morning, coming off the back of a pretty mild spell. I think Grant's got another F1 there. A few minutes, but eventually got one. Again, another 6 or 7 ounce. I'll feed that little bit of ground bait again. Just literally smear it into the pot. Because it's damp, it'll just grip that pot. Otherwise, if you put it in a little bottle, it can start to roll out. You end up dropping it out of the pot on the way out then, so if you just smear it into it, it just takes a little tap to get it out. Last couple of minutes now literally, so if we can get one more that'd be fantastic. You know, we didn't waste too much time on that short line. We'll give it enough chances. Nobody's emptied it on that anyway, so I don't feel like, you know, oh, I should have been doing that. 2 hours to go, I felt like I needed to come in to compete, do you know what I mean? Like try and find some better stamp fish, but you know, looking back, I wish I'd have, well, you don't know. Worms could have been good. I've had a lot of success on worms, so I was always going to try worms. Oh, missed bite then. Come on. There's a fish there. Just need to catch it. Get one more. And I feel like I've had a pretty steady match, to be fair. A couple of things could have done different, which we'll talk about in a bit. Right, that's it all out. We'll get weighed in, and we'll let you know what we've had, and then we'll have a little conclusion about the match.
Right, so we've just finished the match and got weighed in. Very interesting day's fishing. I feel like I've had fish in my peg most of the day. Lots of these little skimmers, very tricky to catch being so calm, but you know, if I'm thinking about lessons learned, definitely should have brought some pinkies for the hook. Most of the lads who have done well have caught on pinkies. Them worms weren't great early doors. Felt like I would maybe catch a few better stamp fish, but it didn't really work brilliant. I mean, Liam's had similar weight to me on the next peg. He's put some worms in and ended up catching on it, but I still don't feel like it was right. So yeah, probably bring some pinkies next time I come. That pellet and ground bait line was good. Hardly any micros, basically just neat ground bait, feeding it quite sloppy. Late on, probably should have forced my peg a little bit more when I started feeding them little bits, you know, tiny little bits of ground bait. It seemed to get even better. So we finished up with £16.6, I think. Mikey Williams has ended up with £23. He's ended up winning this zone and possibly the match even. So that was a good result for one of the Guru boys. My first time here at Moorlands, I'll definitely be coming back. Cracking little venue, there's been loads of bites to be had. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you on another Guru Live.